Hey, what's going on guys? It's Ben from Rook Films, and today I'm going to be showing you how to create this in After Effects. So I originally got this idea from a short film called State Zero. I encourage all of you to watch it. It's by this guy named Andrew Wallen, and he did some really cool VFX work in it. And this was just a scene that I really liked. You know, it's just like it's got this apocalyptic feel. There's a ship flying in the background. It's like everyone's moving in. It's this cool scene, and it really just goes to show how easy these kind of things can be in After Effects these days and what you can kind of get away with. I know After Effects isn't really used for matte paintings in the industry, but again, it just goes to show how easy it can be if you're working with a smaller setup. So I'll go through and show you kind of what we have in the project folder. Go ahead and bring in all my footage. Let me see here. Import folder. Well, first we got to make a new composition. New composition, we'll just name this VFX for now. 1920 by 1080, 60 frames, and then duration is 30 seconds. Just make your frame rate whatever your video actually is if you're going to duplicate this and try to do it for yourself. I'm going to click OK. And okay, now we are in the composition. So as you can see here, this is the folder that I've brought in. And I'll just go ahead and show you kind of what we're working with. So we have this scene. This was filmed on a GH5, if that's something that you're curious about. This is a GH5 zoomed in for 70mm, and basically we just got the green screen in the background, a little bit of camera movement. So he brings the gun up, just kind of looking around, aiming, and then he kind of looks up, and that's pretty much the entire scene. I mean, he looks up a little bit here. I never really put this in the original, but this is basically what he's got here. And then again, this is like really simple. All we have is this fence, this transparent fence that I found on Google. I have this building. I just looked up like dirty buildings, I think. And this was a picture from, I think it's Norilsk, Russia. Honestly, I mean, you can just look up whatever. These things are kind of hard to find if you just don't have the assets for them. But I looked around and this was like a really, really cool picture that I thought would really work for this, because it's got, you know, it's daylight. A little bit of shadowing here, we can mess around with it a little bit, but it's mainly a lit scene and it's just kind of dark. You got these numbers on the back. I mean, like, how much better can you get if you're looking for an apocalyptic feel? Then we just got this tree, transparent tree, found off Google once again, and then this little transparent plant. And that's literally all. We didn't really use a ton. We're not going to do the ship because then we're going to have to get into 3D models, and that's a whole different tutorial. So let's just go ahead and jump right into it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag my footage onto my layer, and then I'm just going to zoom through to when he actually puts the gun up. So I believe it's right here, and then he draws the gun up. So I'll probably put it like right there. Edit, split layer, and then we can just click on the first one and delete that. And then we'll just go through to when he stops and like looks up. Yeah, about like right there. Just to keep it short, we'll edit, split layer. Delete that, and then we'll just move this layer, which is like the final. This is just our layer that we're working with, and we'll just move that to the beginning so that we have it right there and ready to go. And then we have to track this scene. So basically, as you can see, as we scrub through this, you can see the camera is moving. See, like, just we got a little bit of camera movement. If I zoom through really fast, it's not a whole bunch, but you can see that these lines need to be tracked. So I'm just going to go to the start of the clip. I'm going to do layer, new, null object. Just don't do anything else so that you can just keep it just like that. We're going to click on our layer. You can rename this if you want. Just like scene 1. And then we're just going to go to the tracker. If you don't see your tracker, you can go to window and then find tracker and just click on that if you don't see it, but it should be on the right side. Okay, so you click on your scene, and we're going to track motion. We're not going to do track camera because we already have our track motion points laid out for us, these white lines on the back. We're going to track motion, and you can see it's going to give us these tracking points. It's going to take us out of the composition and put us into a new layer. And you can just zoom in on this and move these points to where you, oops, wait, let me go back there. Nope, come here. There we go. And just grab this and put it right on one tracker. And then you can expand this and just really get it to where you want it to go. And then you can zoom out. And then we're gonna check mark rotation and scale. Just because we moved in a little bit, it's important to make sure that we get all those tracking markers. And I haven't really tried this in Mocha. I probably should try it in Mocha just to see if it would work, since the After Effects tracker isn't really the best. I did have some problems with the tracker, with moving it in and stuff, so. But yeah, that should be your tracking point number 2. When you check rotation and scale, you should see that pop up. Then we can just go over here and fit up to 100% so we can see everything. And then basically all you need to do from here is edit your target and just make sure that it's set to the null. Click OK, because all this tracking, all that is, edit the target, is saying we're going to send all the tracking information to the null, not to the actual scene. So we're sending all that information to the null so that we can parent our other layers to it later. Then we're going to go to options. Okay, tracker 1 built in. Okay, this all looks good. And then we're just going to hit play. This will start the actual process of it tracking. See, it's going through here and it's going frame by frame essentially and grabbing all of this data. Now we might have a little hiccup because I believe the muzzle kind of cuts the tracker off just a little bit here. See, it's kind of pushing out, but it looks like it's keeping that motion pretty good. It came right back to the center. That's good. It's about halfway done now. Boom. Okay, and then we can apply all of that data. Hit apply, and then make sure you select X and Y, and click OK. Now I'm not sure why I just applied it to this original layer. You can just delete all of these because we don't need it to be tracked on both. So you can just delete all these. Just select them and delete all those. Close that up, and you can see position, scale, rotation is all on there for this null. So that's what we need. So all of these little keyframes. See how that null is just staying attached to that marker up top? So there we go. It's just selecting that part. So we're going to close this up. And then we need to edit out the background. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Effects and Presets. Type in Key. You're going to see Key Light 1.2. Just drag that onto your footage layer, and then you go to screen color and then click the green, and then we have a little bit of fragmentation up here, so you can just play with the screen gain and balance and really mess around with this kind of stuff. Right there is about good. You can see you start to get some discoloration on his face when you do this kind of stuff, so you just have to kind of balance these two out and make sure that you're not destroying the original image. I encourage you to put your background layer on there first before you start messing with those settings, because it'll look completely different when you put a background on it. Like you'll see now, see this? I just put the background layer on there, I just drag it on, and you can see we're already getting a little bit of transparency in the background, and that's exactly what we don't want. So you can click back on your scene, maybe turn this down a little bit. It's okay if we get a little bit of green bleeding because we're going to do some coloring later, so you have a little bit of green right there, but overall, as long as we're not having some transparency leaking, I think it'll be overall okay. Maybe turn the screen balance up a little bit to the point where it's not bleeding through here. That's okay right there, I guess. Again, we're just going to have a little bit of bleeding, but Just gotta play with the settings a little bit. Okay, now what we have to do is adjust our background. So we want to make it to where the background looks good in our scene. So I can't remember what I had originally, but I think I had it somewhere around here. I don't know, you can mess around with it. Maybe zoom it back a little bit. Because it has to make sense in the scene, you know, you don't want to have it be too large. It has to make sense for the scene at hand. So I think there is good for now. I'm going to click off of it. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some black bars. So I'll just go to Layer, New Solid, black it out. Just call this box. Click OK. And then I'm going to bring up the grid. I usually just bring up the grid and then get the rectangular tool and just count like 1, 2, 3, 4 down, and then just crop that little part out. And I got 1, 2, 3, 4 up, and then turn off the grid. Boom, and now we have some black bars. And obviously you can make that bigger if you want. You can do 5. You can do 5 is really the most I would go. This is kind of a little bit less than I would usually do, but you know, it's a quick tutorial, so I'm not too angry about it. And the reason I do these black bars is so that when he puts the gun up right here, so that doesn't show. So this clip actually needs to be moved down a little bit. I'll just move this down until it's right about there, so it doesn't actually show the mag. I could maybe even put it down a little bit more. There we go. Boom, there we are. Okay, cool. Then we're going to go ahead and place our fence in there. This fence is actually pretty small, so I think what I had to do, scale this up, and then I just duplicated it, Command D or Control D, whichever one you're on. And then just found out the best place to put it. I think honestly if I put this right here and then maybe do the second one behind his head, it might be better since it's not showing. I don't know, you can do what you feel. Again, a lot of this, half the battle is just figuring out where things go. So maybe like right there. Yeah, we just want the fence to be consistent all the way through, just to show that it's there. So there we go, we got our fence. So that's already looking pretty decent. And then what we're going to do is we're going to bring in our tree. Now, you can have this go behind or in front of the fence. I think I put mine behind. And then just scale this baby up. Again, half of the battle is literally just figuring out what's the proportionality. Does it make sense for the tree to be this big in the background? Like, honestly, does it? I don't think so. I think something maybe more like this would make a little bit more sense. And again, this is going to be blurred, so you don't necessarily need to spend too much time trying to figure out where this kind of stuff goes. I think initially I had this here, and then I took my plant, put it on there, and then kind of just scattered some plants on the bottom. Just duplicated these. Maybe played with the rotation a little bit. I don't know. Go crazy. Doesn't matter to me. Maybe duplicate it. Oopsie, wait. Duplicate that. Maybe put one over here too. Scale it up maybe a little bit. Maybe one like down here. Cool. So you can see we have our plants. Now, I'm being kind of messy with this. Like I said, it's just a quick tutorial. Honestly, like, you guys will end up doing something different anyways, so I'm really not sweating it. But I'll name these just for the sake of it. And then so we got fence, our plants, our tree, and our building. That's all that's in this scene. And then we can add a new adjustment layer. Put this right under the fence, yeah, right here. And then we're just gonna go Gaussian blur. Type in Gaussian blur in the effects and presets. Double click on it, and then we can just blur the background. Just change this amount. So automatically, you can see it doesn't really matter what we put in the background anyways, because a lot of it is already being blurred out. Now you can play with this amount. I think what I actually ended up doing is like pre-composing these fences. Let me see if this works. Just right click, pre-compose. And then I ended up duplicating it just so that they would maybe even like a third time, just so that they would stand out a little bit more. You obviously don't have to do this. I think 2 is maybe good, but that blur is really destroying this like barbed wire fence. I really want that to be an aspect of it. So even when I blur this, I want to make sure that those are in there. Another thing you can do is you can go to these fences and just kind of desaturate everything. So I think I turned up saturation, hue and saturation, and just turn the saturation down a little bit so it just looks like more metal-y. And then you can kind of just play with the lightness of it, make it show up a little bit more. And you can do this with everything. So you can do this with the tree, you can put some saturation on there, just desaturate it, just to kind of make it fit with the scene. Do the same thing to the plants, just to make them kind of look like things are kind of dead. You do this oftentimes in an apocalyptic scene, just to show that things are kind of dead. This guy, I'm missing out. There we go. So things are kind of dead. Don't have too much light to them. You can see that this guy is really bright on the scene, so I want to get some brightness in the background. What I can do is I can put a layer, new adjustment layer, and just keep this on the top. And we just rename this to, just rename this to color. Go back to the composition, and then type in curves, double click on the curves, and then we can just turn down the light. You can turn up the light. I think I initially just turned up the light, not to blow anything out, but just to make the colors pop a little bit and everything to kind of be together. And then I think I ended up turning up the greens a little bit. And then I maybe played with the blues, maybe kind of just like a yellowish, bluish undertone. Maybe see what the reds have got going on. Again, this is all personal preference. You can do whatever you want, really. And then with our character, I don't even think I did this in the original, but I think I might just desaturate him as well. Hue and saturation, and then just maybe turn him down a little bit. The original might have been brighter, but I'm just trying, you see what I'm trying to do? I'm trying to blend all of the scene, all of the pieces together. See if this VFX is turned off, you can see how it's not blending with my scene. See how much of a difference that makes? Just that little hue and saturation, it just makes it fit in the scene. So that's good right there. And then the last thing I'll do is take this atmospheric fog that I have and put this right behind our guy. And this is a black, here, I'll show you more about this. So this is just some atmospheric fog. I got this from like a free fog overlay thing. It just kind of, fog's kind of spraying around, and I kind of used this as the orange gas that was in the background. It was kind of hard to see, but you could notice it if you were paying attention. It just kind of gives the illusion that there's wind going on. So I have this in the scene. I'm going to change the transfer mode to screen so that we lose the black in the background. Turn the opacity down. I don't know why we're not seeing our person. What happened there? Oh, here we go. So just change this transfer mode to screen, and then maybe turn the opacity down a little bit. Scale it down just a touch. And then I typed in, you can do change to color. I use VC Color Vibrance from Video Copilot. It's a free plugin, easy download, and it just like really works with these kind of layers. So I took this atmosphere and then I just changed the color to like an orangish because that's what they had in the actual movie. So kind of like an orange color. And then I think I just sped this up. Right click and then go to time stretch. And then I honestly think I put this to like 20. Just so that the fog moves really, really fast. So we can, it's going to be hard to preview this on full, but that is what it is. So I'll have this guy right here, and then you can do this before or after, but I'm going to parent all of these layers to the null object. So just take the whip tool here, pin this to the null. Okay, so once you have everything parented to the null, you can see as we just scrub through this a little bit, you can see that everything flows nicely with the camera. So as you can see, as the camera moves down, the tree is staying in place. It's not moving with the layer. It's actually staying in frame. Everything is sticking to where it's supposed to be. So now what we're going to do is we got to get rid of these white markers. So all we need to do is click on the scene and then click G for the pen tool. And then we're just going to go to the front of our frame and make a simple mask right around our subject. Just go right around here. And then boom, it's going to cut that piece out. And then we just got to click M on the keyboard and start a mask path. And then as you go through these frames, when he brings the gun up, you just need to move the frames a little bit. So this is being difficult, but keep those frames right there, and then you can just move these little points out of the way. And then move it a little bit more. We're kind of cutting into that white a little bit. Come it back. And then there was that one part where it kind of leaked onto the part, that white part. I'm just scrubbing through. And then right here you can see it kind of gets close to it. So I'm going to go down here, click G, just move this as far as I can until I start hitting that white. And then I'll go right up to it. Kind of just like make a mask around it as best as I can. Sorry if I'm being boring as well. This is just kind of the stuff that you need to do. If you don't want to see this part, you can just skip right on through it. But this is just kind of like a lazy mask. I've already done this before, but I'm just basically showing you how to get it done in the same manner. Just kind of scrub through here until it's gone, and then you can kind of just keep it there because I don't think he goes anywhere near it anymore. So boom, and then you can kind of see we have this like line right here because of the green overlay. So we'll just click on the mask and click F, and then you can just feather it out a little bit so that until that line is invisible. So maybe just a little bit more. There you go. See, yeah, it's invisible now. You can fit it back up to 100, and then boom. So yeah, I mean, you might have seen a little bit of white in that. I don't think in the original that it ever showed, but you can go up close to it. You can kind of see it right there. Obviously, if this was like the official, I would try to fix that up, but just since it's the sake of the tutorial, I don't want to be taking forever, waste everybody's time. You guys understand the premise of it and how to get it done, so I'll leave it at that. And then the last thing that you need to do is when we have the smoke moving in the background, the only thing that I did was I made a little bit of turbulent displace on the tree in the background, just to make the illusion that there was a little bit of wind because there's smoke blowing in the background. So I just wanted to make that clear. I'll go to the effects and presets, type in turbulent displace, and then I'll go down to the tree, put some turbulent displace on there, and then you can solo the layer if you want to, just so that it doesn't bog down your computer. And you kind of go through these, and I forgot which one I picked, but you can pick whichever one you want. I think I just went with turbulent, to be completely honest. And then you just mess with the amount. So you can see if we turn this down to 0, and then maybe turn it up a little bit, kind of get some warping. And then if you turn the size down, it really comes with the size. So see, if you turn the size up, it kind of jiggles it a little bit. You can see that can easily be an effect for wind. So basically I'll set this at like 2, and then go to the beginning, set a keyframe for the size, and then as we go up, we will just keyframe the size a little bit to about right there. Maybe move the amount up a little bit. And you can kind of see there's our little movement. Obviously you can just fine tune this when you want to. Again, the background's blurred, so you're not really gonna see too much of it. But then you can just unsolo this, and let's take a look at the final product for what we got right now. Alright, so I got a little RAM preview out for you guys. I tweaked the tree a little bit while I was waiting, and then just made some adjustments to the smoke in the background. If I did it again, I'd probably just get a different smoke preset. I don't think this was actually the original that I used, because it looks kind of all over the place, and the other one that I had was kind of more directional, if that makes sense. So this is kind of what it is right here. You can see everything's kind of in frame, everything's working with each other. There's plants, there's a tree, there's smoke going on in the background. And yeah, this is just kind of a compilation of a lot of different effects that are used, but it's a really simple effect. And I'm sorry if I didn't explain everything totally. I should have prefaced, it's kind of more of an advanced tutorial. I think that just kind of goes without saying. I mean, if you're learning about a matte painting VFX breakdown, I'd assume that you know a good deal, at least about the basics of After Effects, if not a little bit more. So if you guys want more information, you can comment down below, or if you want different videos. I haven't done a matte painting video in a really long time, so this is just the one that I came up with, and I just wanted to get this out to you guys really quickly. But yeah, if you guys like this video, please leave a like on it. I don't have a ton of subscribers on this account, but if you would like to subscribe, that would be great. And just let me know what you guys want to see, basically, because if nobody tells me that they want to see more of this content, then how am I gonna know? So if you leave a like, you'll be likely to see a video like this in the future, if not different VFX videos. But thank you everyone for watching. Again, leave a comment down below what you liked about it, what you didn't like about it, and I will see you guys in the next one.